All right, Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Racha Kodash, for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to the elect. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, great millstone, who rule well, who I learnt this truth from. They are the leaders of all Israel in these end times, and the real prophets among many false prophets that the Lord has sent in these end times to edify the elect. Shalom to you, Aquaf, meaning you Israelite sisters that may be watching. You know, this lesson is very important for you to take heed to, okay? And Lord willing, it's edifying to you, okay? Because this lesson isn't to bash you or to, pick on you or to get you angry in any way. This lesson is really a warning. And basically to show you the times we're coming into, okay? So you Aquaf that may be watching, bless you if you're not offended, all right? Shalom to you, brothers on the highways and hedges, teaching this gospel in all sincerity and in truth, risking your lives and your jobs and your future daily to do this work. Shalom to you, brothers, man. And shalom to you Israelites that look like these other races of people out here. But your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, making you a Hebrew Israelite regardless of your appearance, okay? Because it's not about the outward appearance, okay? It's about the chosen seed line, whether your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because that is the chosen seed line, and that is who salvation is for. So shalom to you. And shalom means peace be unto you. All right? So in this lesson, I want to bring out a few clips. I don't have many. I got, 6 clips. And this is just showing you that the times that we're coming into, it's going to be evident that men are the prize, okay? And like I said, this ain't a lesson to try and, piss you women off. It's just a lesson to show you. And we have to do lessons like this because nowadays there's so much confusion. Esau done divided everybody in so many ways. And one of the divisions is, this gender war, men versus women, and women with their twisted perception of reality, because they bought into that feminism mess and it corrupted their minds. And for some reason, women, I ain't saying all women, obviously, but a lot of women out there in these end times think that they are the prize, It's like, what do you bring to the table? I am the table, all that kind of attitude, man. And it's just off. The Lord ain't dealing with that. And it's because, the times we're coming into are going to get really ugly, and it's going to become really evident that you women are not the prize, okay? You never were the prize. A man is the prize because a man was set up by the Lord to be the leader of the household, okay? That's why he made us with deep, authoritative voices. He made us with stronger muscles. He blessed us with, greater wisdom in certain areas. You women have your role, and it's very important for you to play your role. That's why I say in the opening of my videos, my lessons, I say, shalom to you women that are in order, you Aquaf. Okay, because that's the only people we care about. The rest of you were born in vain, and you're among the 2/3 that are getting ready to perish. In these days we're coming into, a lot of women are going to get judged, man, because of their pride, okay? Because they can't be corrected. They think they know it all. Because, social media and today's culture, twisted culture, has destroyed them in the mind, And you women that are among the congregation of the living, you're among us of the truth, in the truth. You women, we ain't speaking to all of you. I know there are some fakers out there, but most of you, know the deal. You've watched lessons like this before, and you see it for what it is because you're the wise ones. All right, because we ain't just doing lessons like these to pick on you women, man. And a lot of you see it for what it is, and you're in order. And hey, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's not going to be in vain. And I know it's a burden. It's a hard thing for a woman to accept the fact that a man is allowed multiple wives, you know. But we ain't out here racking up multiple wives in these end times. You ain't really got to worry about all that. It's just that it is lawful. Okay, so blessed are you that aren't offended at the true gospel. Okay, because otherwise you're offended at Yahushai. And it's easily proven that men are allowed multiple wives. It's just not expedient in the times we're living in now. Because why would man want multiple wives during a time of chaos that we're coming into, man? All that baggage. You know, no disrespect, but it's easier for a man to take care of himself during this time and only himself, you know, rather than children, wives, you know. So we don't need that extra baggage in this time we're coming into, but, you know, ultimately, you know, women will flock to the men of the Lord because the men of the Lord are going to be protected. Okay, so I want to start out with scriptures that you already know, and then we'll get deeper into this lesson. Okay, and I'm going to show you these clips I've got lined up. The Lord willing, you find this lesson edifying. So we're going to start with Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. It says, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it." Talking about this time period we're coming into. Okay, this time of war, pestilence, famine. Okay, a time of great trouble, man. It says, alas, for that day is great. It says, so that none is like it, meaning there's never been a time like this ever. So you think of all the bad times that have happened in history, this one is going to top them all. This third world war that we're coming into is going to get really ugly, man. Okay, and don't just take my word for it. Hey, take the Lord's word for it, and we're reading it. All right, it's just whether or not you accept that we are the prophets. You know, it's down to you. You know, it says, it is even the time of Jacob's trouble, right? Jacob is you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as you speckled birds. It's time of our trouble, man. It's going to be really bad for us because we're the poor. So it's going to be harder for us to survive, you know, with limited, limited resources. And, Edomites, man, they got... I'm not saying that survival shelters and stocking up stuff is gonna help, is gonna save you, but you know it make it make it a little bit less of a troubling time when you're prepared physically for this time, because it's a time of Jacob's trouble, not only because our people are poor, but because, Edomites are in authority right now. They're the ones, you basically got the KKK running the damn American government. So, when society becomes lawless, what do you think the first thing they're going to do? They're going to be out there, hunting. Esau loves to hunt. You hear about what they were doing on the Epstein Island, man. Hunting people, hunting niggers. And they're getting ready to do the same thing again when this society collapses, man. Okay, they're going to be hunting you down, Jake. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, because they can't stand your guts. Americans are so propagandized that they actually think that you're the problem. You're the reason why, they ain't got no money. Shows how stupid these people are. But anyway, so it says it is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And that he that's going to be saved out of it is talking about the elect. Now I want to quickly jump to the book of Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1, which pretty much is saying the same thing, but in a different way. And it even goes further to tell you who is going to be saved out of it, because we know that what I just read is talking about the elect is going to be saved out of it. So this ties in with, the meat of this lesson, because the elect men are going to be the prize. Right now we're not really looked at as much. We're just niggas with Bibles, working at average 9 to 5. We ain't got no money. We're brokies, we're dusties, all of that, right? As they like to say. But during the time of Jacob's trouble, in the thick of it, when we're still standing, okay, it's going to be evident that the Lord is dealing with us. And, when I say us, I'm talking about the elect. I'm not saying I'm a part of that, but I'm just saying, Lord willing, I'm a part of that, us of the hopeful elect. But the elect, you know, are gonna be standing strong. Lord willing, I'm a part of that. You know, that's why I'm, you know, doing lessons like this, because, you know, I'm trying to do what's pleasing to the Lord and edify the sheep so that I can be counted worthy to be delivered from this time, man. But the men of the Lord are going to be all right. They're going to have a glow about them, and the women are going to flock to that. Okay. And we're going to read that in these scriptures. Daniel's 12, the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and verse 1, it says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up," talking about Michael the archangel, right? "The great prince which standeth for the children of thy people," the Israelites. It says, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as was never since there was a nation, even to that same time." So this is going to be a time like there's never been, just as we read in Jeremiah 30 and 7, the time of Jacob's trouble. And it's going to be so bad that we're going to need divine intervention from the angels to protect us during that time, okay? But the Lord's men will be protected, while everyone else that isn't on the spiritual ark, so to speak, they're going to be left to their own devices to figure it out, and they're going to get violent. It's going to get ugly. It's going to be survival of the fittest out there. And you women, you're not fit enough to survive what's coming without a man, okay? And even your man's going to get mowed down if he's not a man of the Lord. And we can't stress this enough. This is very important for you to understand. It says, "And at that time, thy people shall be delivered," right? Our people. But it specifically is going to say everyone that shall be found written in the book. So it means everyone that's of the elect. Okay? So it's not going to be our people as a whole, because our people are going to catch hell. That's why it's called the time of Jacob's trouble. But our people are not going to be spared out of it. Only the elect of our people. Okay? That's why, you know, during this time, you know, the ones that are protecting the women, or the women that they choose, should I say, okay? Because the men of the Lord ain't going to be just choosing women just because you're pretty, or because most of you ain't even going to be really looking pretty during this time we're coming into, man. You ain't really going to want to be looking pretty, in all honesty, because you're going to, you won't want to be attracting any type of attention to yourself during that time. It's probably the ugly women that are going to be more blessed during that time. You know, the women that men don't even look twice at when they're walking down the street, right? But all you beautiful women out there, when there's no one to protect you, it's not gonna. That's why it's called the time of Jacob's trouble, man. You can only imagine what these horny men are gonna do to you, you know. But the men of the Lord are gonna be the only men that you can trust out there during these times, because we're gonna be composed. You know, we're gonna be and like I said, Lord willing, I'm a part of that. Lord willing, I'm protected too. But the men of the Lord are going to be in a good case during that time, okay? The scriptures constantly speak about how his servants are going to eat, but they're going to be hungry. His servants are going to drink, but they're going to be ashamed. And so on, right? Going to be in good spirits, you know, and they're going to be howling for vexation of spirit, right? So the Lord's going to send his angels to protect his elect during that time. Okay. Now, how exactly he's going to do it, we don't know that part. That's one of the mysteries that we're just going to have to find out when it comes. But that's why why scriptures say that during that time, we're going to be tried as gold in the fire. Okay. Because it's going to be a testing time for the men of the Lord. You know, they're going to have to step out in faith. They're going to have to, you know, do like Peter and walk on water, so to speak, right? Without sinking, you know? So anyway, let me let me go ahead and play a video or two, because I want to start with this one here, because this is what sparked me, you know, to do this lesson. And you know, this lady made a lot of good points, you know, because hey, you men that aren't protected of the Lord, you're not gonna be able to protect your woman. And you're therefore going to be useless to these women during this time, man. Okay? And even if you are just a naturally strong man, you're probably going to be an asshole anyway. So a woman ain't going to want a man like that either. So men are going to be rare, okay? Check this out.
If a man can't keep me alive,
let's watch this video.
If a man can't keep me alive in a post-apocalyptic situation, I don't want him. How are you even attracted to somebody who would just get pillaged as soon as the government fails to enforce the laws? You don't really love him because you can't. Because what you really love is the social contract that we all have right now that allows him to stay alive. As soon as the world fell, you wouldn't be able to love him because you guys would have been pillaged and you would have to choose a stronger man. I would also go as far to say is like, as a man, you can't fight, you can't shoot, you can't grow food, you can't fish, and you can't figure out how to get us any of those resources. What are we doing here? If none of those needs are met, then I might as well just go be with another woman because at least I'll have emotional security and stability while I'm fighting for my life with a lack of provision and stability.
See, women want stability. You know, they want stability during hard times because women, one thing about women, they're built different. They're not built for times of trouble. Women want to be comfortable. They like a cozy home. You know, they like to go out to eat comfort food. Food gives them comfort. They like to go out to restaurants and eat. They like to go to the movies and things like that. You know what I mean? They like to have a good time. Girls just want to have fun, right? But fun, the mirth, is getting ready to be stripped from this place. This world war is going to get ugly, okay? That's why, the warning has been going out through the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone and the affiliates, the people that teach the same doctrine. We've been teaching this for a long time that, we're coming into an ugly time. Get yourself ready, starting with the spiritually, with your mind and all that. Right? But let me go ahead and read this. This is Isaiah. Oh, what happened? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. It says, "In wisdom and knowledge shall there be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation." Salvation is what we're going to need in this time we're coming into, which means to, be delivered from our enemies, to be kept alive, to, although some of us will be martyrs, that's written, that's part of prophecy, but ultimately we want to live, to see the day of the Lord. We want to survive through these times and be saved, right? So the wisdom and knowledge of the Holy Scriptures, that's going to be the strength of our salvation. And that's what's going to bring us stability in this time while everyone else is confused, not knowing where to turn or what's going on, not knowing how to call on the Lord because they don't know the name. They don't know how to do what's pleasing to the Lord because they've been taught lies in Christianity. And, you got a lot of atheists and all sorts of people in different religions, So wisdom and knowledge, which comes from the prophets, the prophets are bringing out the truth of the Holy Bible in these end times, that's what's going to keep us stable in these times. And that's what women are going to be looking for during this time, is stability. And, like I said, the men of the Lord are going to have a certain glow about them during this time because they're going to be not only taken care of, but they're not going to be losing their mind like everyone else. I'm not saying it ain't going to be hard to see people getting killed around you and women screaming and stuff like that. But, we've been preparing our minds for a long time for this time. Okay. It says, it goes on to say the fear of Yahweh is his treasure. So, the men of the Lord, the fear of the Lord is our treasure. That's what we hold dear to us. The fear of the Lord, you have to have a healthy fear of the Lord in order to do what's pleasing to him, which ultimately could lead you to be one of the elect. All right. Let's pull up another video and then we'll grab another scripture. Okay.
When it all comes down to it, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, I want a black man on my side, period. Y'all running around here talking about some feminist this and feminist that. Meanwhile, those white women knew exactly what time it was when they went into that booth. See, those white women were voting for family structure. They were voting for family dynamic. They understand the importance of that. They boosted y'all black woman ego and made y'all feel like y'all can do any and everything, keyword, without your man, because that is the hidden agenda. Because black women are easy targets. Black women are extremely emotionally charged with what's going on here. So that's what...
You know, let me stop her right there, because there's a scripture that comes to mind when she says that, right? That women are easy to take advantage of. This is why, you know, the serpent went to Eve first, you know, in the garden, because the women, according to the scriptures, are known as the weaker vessel. Right? 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, right? Talking about your wives, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. See? So we're supposed to honor our wives and respect them as the weaker vessel. You know, don't pick on her because she can't open a jar, right? Don't bully her just because she can't beat you up. All right, you got to honor her. Understand that she was created to be weaker. Okay, she's that feminine energy that we need. Okay, and that's what we crave. We don't want a woman that's, buff and strong, but that's what the serpent tried to teach a woman to be, right? And it only backfired, okay? Because during this time we're coming into, we don't want no strong, independent woman. Hey, you so strong and independent. Take care of yourself during this time. You know what I mean? Hey, put your money where your mouth is, right? So to speak. So it says, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. Because we're vessels, we're souls walking around in a meat suit, a vessel. So she's the weaker vessel, and that doesn't just mean physically. It means that she doesn't make she doesn't make leadership decisions in most cases. I'm not saying women can't, at times, say something and a man is like, hey, that makes sense. You're right. Because it happens, but ultimately a man is the leader. It says, as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So, the point is that women are the weaker vessel. Let's get back to this video. Okay, I had to stop it right there. Let's run it back slightly.
Importance of that. They boosted y'all black woman ego and made y'all feel like y'all can do any and everything, keyword, without your man, because that is the hidden agenda. Because black women are easy targets. Black women are extremely emotionally charged with what's going on here. So that's what really makes us easy targets. Y'all are pointing the finger at black men. Y'all are doing all of these things at black men, but y'all need them. And you gonna see how quick you need them when shit gets really real. So you can keep coming up here recording these videos and starting this feminist movement into thinking that you don't need black men to protect you. You are an idiot. And let's be crystal clear when I say I don't want any bitch around me like that. If you a woman and you feel like you don't need no man for protection, you are an idiot. You are a lost cause. And you are playing a dangerous fucking game. Y'all running around here talking about the 4B movement. That is so stupid on a lot of levels. There is ample amount of birth control around here. You know how to have self-control. You might need to look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why you attracting ain't shit ninjas. Fix yourself. It could be something about you to where you are constantly attracting Pookie and Ray Rays. But not over here, boo-boo.
Yeah, because Pookie and Ray Ray ain't going to save you in these times we're coming into, man. Right now, Pookie and Ray Ray's winning. Women want the men with, they gotta have long, good hair. We're out of luck when it comes to me, because, I used to have long hair, good hair. Not long, but but I'm bold now, okay? You're gonna have to accept this bold nigga if I'm one of the elect. You're gonna have to accept me with all my flaws. It's just a little inside joke, but you ain't gonna be able to be picky during that time, because right now, like I said, Pookie and Ray Ray's winning. The women want the men with good hair, tattoos. He's got to make 6 figures or more. He's got to meet all these lofty expectations, but the ball ain't going to be in your court in these days we're coming into, okay? And I'm not saying that to get a rise out of you. It's just the truth. It is the honest truth. You're about to see it. We ain't joking around. It's going to be an ugly time for women, okay? Because you're the weaker vessel, and there's going to be a lot of strong vessels out there taking whatever they want. We can't save you. We can't save you all. We ain't going to want to. You're going to be left to it, man. All you strong independents. Hey, be strong and independent then. That's basically what we're saying, man. All right, let me finish this up.
I'm attracting all strong, dominant, healthy black men. Period. That's all I want around me. I don't want no GAY male giving me no fucking advice. I don't want no GAY woman. I had to wash my mouth. GAY woman telling me I don't need no man. I don't know, ma'am. No, ma'am. Y'all are losing y'all fucking minds out here. Collectively, you are.
Hey, this girl, she bashes the Bible. She ain't gonna be protected during this time, but she's speaking facts there. You know what I mean? I've done a lesson, and added her in one of my lessons before. Because she ain't right, okay, as far as her as a person, but in her mind and all that. But sometimes she makes good points, like right here. She's saying that you need a man. In these times we're coming into, what she doesn't understand, though, is that you're going to need a man of the Lord, right? Let me quickly show you this other quick video. This is a oldie but goodie.
As your consciousness, I swear, as your consciousness unfolds spiritually, some people are going to think you're fucking crazy. So this guy asked me, do I want to chill? Chill? Like, who the fuck has time to chill? Aren't you aware that your fucking government is doing everything in their fucking power to try to kill us? Like, I'm learning survival skills here. I don't have motherfucking time to chill. Like, bro, can you grow food? Can you start a fucking fire? Can you find and purify water? Can you build a survival shelter from scratch? If you can't do any of that shit, then keep it moving. I'm not looking to go out on a date. I'm looking for a protector.
Yeah. So women are looking for protectors in these days we're coming into, man. I heard a story of like women, mostly Edomite women, that are looking at their husbands sideways now with all this stuff going on, because they're treating it like everything's gonna be fine, and the women are looking at things in a more prudent manner, and they're like, no, everything's not fine. I need you to protect me. Like, don't just sit on the couch watching football. I need you to I need you to treat this more serious, and the men are just not making them feel safe, so women are starting to divorce their husbands or thinking about divorcing their husbands, and it's just causing a load of mess, because women, the consciousness of women is starting to shift, which ultimately is going to fulfill these prophecies that I'm about to bring out. Okay, now when she said, can you grow food? It ain't time to be growing food. Okay, because if you grow food, you better have armed security watching it 24/7. Okay, and that ain't happening, because you ain't gonna be able to grow food and get some sleep at the same time. Because you wake up in the morning, that food gonna be gone. You know, somebody gonna be plotting on that food. You can't just grow food in the days we're coming into. So that's out of the question, right? And in England, you can't really grow much anyway. So always so cold over here. But you know, it would be wise for us men of the Lord, right? Us of the hopeful elect, you men. It would be wise to start researching while we still got internet, you know, things like how to survive, you know, in nature, like how to build a survival shelter or how to purify water, you know, things like that, you know. I mean, we may not need those skills in the times we're coming into because ultimately, you know, if you're of the elect, you're going to be protected anyway, one way or another. But it still would be wise to learn these things while we can because it can get you out of a sticky predicament. Okay, maybe learn how to trap some quail or something, and make a bird trap or something, so you can at least make some fried chicken while you're living in the woods, so to speak, right? You know what I'm saying? Just learning certain things that can help you in an apocalyptic situation. It would be wise to do that, and also it would be wise for you to, you know, get fit, you know, do a bit of exercising and get your stamina up. You may have to run at times, you may have to carry heavy loads and walk, you know, on long journeys or whatever. Just prepare for the worst, hope for the best, you know what I'm saying? But it would just be wise to do that. So anyway, I want to bring out a couple scriptures because, you know, I always do that. The Bible explains the times we're coming into, right? Isaiah 32 and is it 12? No. It's 9 through 12, that's it. Right. So this is Isaiah 32 starting at 9. It says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. The Lord's voice and his speech is coming through his prophets, doing lessons like the one I'm doing now, you know? So don't look at it as, you know, just some man that knows a bit of the Bible, and don't look at it as it's me speaking to you, because I'm just bringing out, you know, the true understanding of what the Lord is saying through his word. So look at it as the Lord's word. Don't judge it from the messenger, you know. Just focus on the message. So it says, "Rise up, ye women." The Lord is saying, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease, you women that are comfortable, chilling. You know, you got it going on, benefits, housing, whatever. Okay, rise up means time to get serious. Understand that these things are getting ready to be stripped from you, coming into some ugly times. So sort it out, sort yourself out, man. And if you're not 100% sure on what to do to sort yourself out, then, you know, drop a comment in the comment board. And maybe we can, you know, I can direct you to the right way. All right. It says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech." It says, "Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women. For the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come." So, you know, we're coming into a time where your benefits are going to be cut off, because this war is going to bring major instability, and they're going to have to make cuts, and there's going to be no jobs and all sorts of things. Okay. So your security is getting ready to be stripped from you. It's going to be the time of Jacob's trouble we're coming into. It says, "Tremble, ye women that are at ease. Be troubled, ye careless ones." So this is a time for you women that, you know, think you don't need a man, think you don't need the Lord. You know, you in the church praising Jesus, thinking you're saved. It's a time for you to really be panicking because, you know, for one, Jesus ain't going to save you in these times we're coming into. You're going to need the true Son of the Most High, okay? And the Father. You need the true powers, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. Okay, it says, "Tremble, ye women that are at ease. Be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare. Gird sackcloth upon your loins," which goes into, you know, mourning. Be in a state of mourning. It says, they shall lament for the teats. To lament means to wail, to cry out loud. They shall lament for the teats. The teats is like the nourishment, you know, the nourishment of this land, of the land, you know, the good, the pleasant things, the good things, you know. It says for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine, okay. So pleasant field goes into cultivated land, you know, like you want things to go back to how it was basically when you was comfortable, because you know it's getting ready to change. The whole atmosphere is getting ready to change, man. Okay, so this is what you're gonna lament for. You're gonna want you women like to be comfortable, you know, and this is a time for you to rise up and get serious and understand that you're gonna need a man during these times. Okay, so all that feminist stuff didn't do you any favors, man. It's not gonna help you. It's actually going to be a curse. You know, you've been living good off of feminism for a while, you know, Miss Independent, I can do what a man can do, black girl magic, hear me roar, all of that, right? You know, you was living the high life, being able to be a whore, going on cruises in other countries, sleeping around, coming back to your husband. You know, you thought that, you thought you were just having a hot girl summer and you thought there was going to be no consequences. And now, you know, you're going to realize that that was a curse unto you. You know, unfortunately, you were deceived again, Eve, you know, by the serpent, which is Esau Edom. Okay. So let's scroll up a little bit, because it says here in verse 2, Isaiah 32:2, it says, and a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind. The wind represents destruction. Okay, so a man is going to be like a hiding place, okay, from this destruction. It says, and a covert from the tempest, going into the same thing. It's just, you know, metaphor. It's just breaking it down in a, you know, in a parabolic talk. It's parabolic language. You know, saying that a man is going to be like a hiding place from the wind and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. So, you know, you imagine being in a desert and then you see a big rock and it's like, oh my God, finally some shade. You're sat there feeling a lot cooler under that shade. It brings relief. That's what a man's going to bring. A man of the Lord. During this time we're coming into, a man of the Lord going to bring relief. Okay. So like I said, you know, we're coming into a time where, you know, you're going to need a man at the end of the day. Okay. It's going to get ugly out here. Let's play another video. Because, you know, women seem to think they're the prize. Women like this one right here, this heifer. This is you. This right here represents you women that are at ease right now. You know, you feel comfortable enough and secure enough to say these lofty things that you say on the internet, not understanding the times you're coming into. Women like this are going to have no hope, because ain't no man of the Lord going to want a woman like this. Your looks ain't going to mean nothing. Your big breasts, your big booty, you thick. I ain't gonna mean nothing to the men of the Lord. It don't mean nothing to us now, really. But, you know, especially in the times we're coming into, who wants that baggage? Anyway, let me go ahead and play this video.
They get 3 points.
The only ones confused about why women are the prize are the ones that ain't got one. How would they know?
Hi, married man here. A prize is something of value that comes with a benefit. For instance, when an NBA player wins a championship, they're able to make more money and secure better deals. A Nobel Prize winner gets $1 million. A Pulitzer Prize winner gets $15,000. When a golfer wins the Masters, they get $3.6 million. The players that win the Super Bowl get a bonus of $164K. The team that wins the World Cup get $42 million. The Kentucky Derby winner gets $3.1 million. million, and Powerball winners get hundreds of millions of dollars. So ask yourself this question. Are you expected to give money, or do you expect to receive it? Because if you're receiving it, you're not the prize. You're just the recipient of it.
And, he's referring to, money, but as being, part of the prize. But in this case, it's security, stability, protection. That's why I say, during this time, are you going to be able to protect a man? Of course not. So what are you going to be bringing to the table that makes you the prize in this time we're coming into, man? It's going to be evident that men are the prize in the times we're coming into. Let's turn to the book of Isaiah chapter 13. And is it 2:12? Yeah. Right. Isaiah 13 and 12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. And is that talking about the past? No. Okay, because women have always treated men like they're not that valuable. They think that they can raise the kids by themselves and they're better off without a man. And, men being with a man is like slavery. Too many rules and this and that. One man telling them where to go, what to do and all that, So they don't look at a man as very precious. But in the times we're coming into, the Lord is saying that he will make. Let's actually start at verse 11 and bring out more context. It says, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I'll cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. Now this is ultimately talking about Esau, Edom. But you women are arrogant and proud too. You coming in the spirit of Satan, Esau. Right? So, the Lord is going to cause that pride to cease and that arrogancy, man. Like that woman you saw in the beginning of that clip I just played. With her pompous attitude, man.
The only ones confused about why women are the prize are the ones that ain't got one. How would they know?
Hi, married man here.
See? You're just pompous and proud, man. But the Lord gonna cause that to cease. And he says, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Okay, and that's talking about Esau. So ultimately, the Lord gonna knock everyone's pride off their face, man. The Lord gonna slap that pride right off your face. And in verse 12, I'm gonna read it again. I will make a man more precious than fine gold. Well, that means that a man is gonna be the prize. And it's gonna click. It's gonna click really quick soon. It ain't quite clicked yet, but you just wait. You just wait for it, man. It says, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir, which is very, very fine gold. Okay. So the Lord is going to make a man very, very valuable in the days we're coming into. So I want to bring out another scripture in the book of 2nd Esdras. What am I doing? Chapter 16 and 33. 2nd Esdras 16 and 33, it says, the virgins shall mourn, having no help, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. The daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. It says, in the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, because, they're going to be drafting people into this war soon. And there's also going to be civil war, race war, class war. There's going to be civil war in America, okay? And a lot of men are getting ready to die. So even the ones that you will consider a good man, it's one way or another, they're going to get judged, because and a lot of them will die from famine. It goes on to say that in verse 34, in the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. So in other words, in a nutshell, there's going to be a shortage of men during this time. And the men of the Lord, like I said, they're the ones that are going to be protected by Michael the Archangel, as we read in the book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1. Okay. Let's bring out another clip.
In these hard economic times, in these hard political times, in these hard, difficult, challenging spiritual times, you think that it's a good idea for a man to take on a woman? These same women who are getting online expressing how ungrateful they are, taking men's children away, putting men on child support, taking half of their stuff when they get divorced, just causing chaos in their life, causing drama. You act like, oh, because I have my genitalia, since I have this private part, I'm the prize. No, the prize is who's ever in demand, and women are not in demand anymore. There's way too many of us. We've gotten online and made it clear that we're way too easy.
See, now she's talking about the times before the chaos. She ain't even got in mind about the chaos that's coming. She's talking about now. You know, even now there's a shortage of men. You know, that's why women say niggas ain't shit, because you're really surrounded by ain't shit niggas. You know, excuse my language. That seems to be a majority of the men these days. You know, because everyone just bugged out. Right? So the men of the Lord are being cleaned up and refined by the Lord and brought back into righteousness. And, you know, that's gonna be very valuable, you know, not only now, but in the days that we're coming into. You know? The women are like, where the good men at? The good men are the men of the Lord. You haven't quite figured it out yet. Let's run this back slightly.
Have my genitalia, since I have this private part, I'm the prize. No, the prize is who's ever in demand, and women are not in demand anymore. There's way too many of us. We've gotten online and made it clear that we're way too easy, we're way too promiscuous, we do anything strange for a little bit of change. There's literally no incentive anymore. What is the point? It's all risk and little to no reward. And we get on the internet and we make it, we display it every single day. When you're taking on a woman, all you're doing is taking on challenges. And the main reason to still want a woman, which is to have children, half of y'all have gotten online and made it clear that y'all don't even want to be mothers anymore. Y'all don't want to have children. So what is the point? What is the point? What is the incentive? Why are we acting like we don't understand? Why are we walking around still thinking that we're the prize, thinking that someone should want us when we're not giving anything worth wanting? What are you worth that's worth wanting? What about you is worth the risk that you come with? When you're letting all these women online represent womanhood in such a nasty way every single day, and you're in the comments condoning it, instigating it, egging it on, yes girl, yes queen, waving your fingers, praising this behavior, and you're surprised when these men don't want you besides to sleep with you. And the funny thing is, a lot of them don't even care about that anymore. Before you go to yourself and have a pity party, I need a man, where's the men? Men aren't the same anymore. Ask yourself, are you worth it? I strongly doubt it. We as a whole are diminishing our value every single day, and it's over. It's a wrap. There's no undoing it. This is what you all have decided. This is what we have decided as a whole. Live with it. Deal with the consequences. Evolve. You've made it this way, so it's time to evolve.
Yeah, because like I said, you know, you brought into feminism and it destroyed you, because, you know, most women don't truly understand what men are looking for. They talk about they want a good man, but the good men don't want you, okay? Because you're at a touch of reality, you know, your mind is gone. You don't understand that men are simple. We like simple things, you know, we're not too complicated, man. You know, there's three main things that we're looking for in a woman, okay? On top of beauty, beauty is important, but things that are more important is loyalty, we want peace, and we want femininity. If you're not feminine, if you're masculine and, you know, talking like a dude, man, cussing all the time, you're loud, we don't like that. Men don't want loud women that cuss like a sailor. Always in the club getting drunk. We don't want that. We want keepers at home, women that are doing womanly duties, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children. May seem boring to you, but that's what men like. Men like a woman that they feel, you know, can take care of a household. Men want loyalty. We don't want to feel like we have to, you know, look over you all the time. You know, watch other men around you and worried about what you're doing at work, whether you have a work husband or something. We don't want that stress. We want to feel like we can totally trust you, and we can see it with your actions. We can tell if you're trustworthy by your actions. But once you ruin a man's trust, it's very hard to get it back. You can get it back, but it's very, very, very hard, man. It takes a lot of time to prove, you know, that you can be trusted. But we also want peace, and that comes in many areas, okay? We don't want you being argumentative, combative all the time, always got to be right, always got to say the last word or whatever, you know, always just wanting to argue, man. Who wants that? You know? Headache, man. So if you ain't coming with them type of things, man, you can forget it. And we don't want no woman with tattoos everywhere. You know, not saying that you can't be forgiven for that if you did that in ignorance in the past or whatever. But we ain't really attracted to that. You know, I don't know who taught you, you know, the Pookies and Ray Rays taught you that that was attractive. But the real men, nah, we don't like that. We don't like tattoos everywhere. You just look like every other woman, man. It's a bad look, okay? It's just horrible. You look like a woman of the world. To go that far to mark up your flesh for life with some stupid little picture and piercings everywhere. You know, a couple of piercings where they're meant to be, maybe a little nose stud or some earrings, that's fine. You tattooing, I mean, you're piercing your chest. You know, you got one through your septum, couple through your lip, your eyebrow. Nah, man, just get the hell away from me, you beast. Okay? These men don't want that. Okay? So during Jacob's trouble, man, you know, the men of the law are going to be very, very, very picky. You know, we'll be able to tell who you are and if you're faking trying to be a feminine woman just because you want to survive. Nah, just get the hell out of here because that's not who you are. You ain't feminine. You're just pretending to be. And we'll see it. We will see it a mile off. We can sniff that out a mile away.
I've never been able to be a soft girl. I'm so like, you know, like, you know. And now I'm just like. And then when I lower my voice and I need to be taken seriously and handled delicately, and I just look. And I'm like, baby, look, I'm not okay. I need this. I need you. I get whatever the fuck I want. Who told me to be aggressive? This is crazy.
Anyway, let me go ahead and pull out another scripture, right? It's the book of 2nd Ezra 15. Starting at 14, right? Because this is the time we're coming into. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. That's civil war. Okay, and a lot of men are going to die in this war. That's why there's going to be a shortage of men, and the men of the Lord that are still standing are going to be more precious than fine gold. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Okay, so they're not going to obey authorities during this time. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So when a man is kicking down your door and, you know, your poxy little, puny little, weak husband can't protect you, then, you know, these wicked men going to be having their way with you in front of your puny little husband, man. So, you know, that's why it's very important for you to take these times serious, because the Bible's telling you the type of time we're coming into, man. And we constantly bring these out. It says in verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because during this time there's going to be curfews, lockdowns, martial law. It says in verse 18, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So even grown men are going to be afraid, these Pookies and Ray Rays, because they're not going to be protected from the Lord, man. So they're not going to know what to do. They don't have the wisdom and knowledge of the Holy Bible, which is going to be our stability. But the men of the Lord, the ones that fear the Lord, the ones that make the fear of the Lord our treasure, right? They're the ones that are going to be stable during this time. And that's what women are going to need. They don't need a man that's going to be like a woman, afraid. Women want a man that can take care of them and be stable during these times and make them feel stable. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So there ain't going to be no friendship, no friends during that time. Everyone going to be out for themselves, and they're going to be kicking down each other's door and invading one another. Okay. Yeah, just play this last video I got here and we'll close it out.
I don't believe in the phrase.
If a
Let's watch this video.
I always say I don't believe in the phrase a happy wife, happy life. I don't believe in that. I believe a healthy husband, a healthy home. And the reason why is because your husband is the head of the house. And so if his mental health is declining or it's not in a good space, the house is going to fall apart. So I always try to make sure my husband is healthy. He's eating right. He's in a good mind space. How can I be of assistance? How can I help you? You know, I prioritize him and make sure he's okay. And he's a giver. So he loves to give back always.
Comment down below.
Comment down. I'll comment. And she's a lot more in order than a lot of women you come across these days. She has a, you know, glow about her because she stands out. She's somebody that a real man would look at and consider. Okay, because she gets it. She said she don't believe in a happy wife, happy life, because that's that's like a commandment of men, so to speak. That's like the philosophies of the world. Happy wife, happy life. No, it ain't. That's a simp. That's a simp attitude. That's what simps think. That's a simp mentality. Let me keep my wife happy and do everything she wants and buy her flowers and chocolates so that no, you're getting cheated on, buddy. Okay, you're doing too much. Chill out. Okay, ain't that serious. Okay, women don't want that. Okay, trust me, I know from experience. You know, I've tried that good man role before. And because I'm naturally a good man, but you can't spoil these women. I'm not saying just be an asshole, because I'm not that either. But I understand that, you know, it takes balance. You can't be spoiling your woman and thinking that you got to do that to keep her happy wife, happy life, man. That's some simp shit. But what a woman needs to be doing is trying to keep her husband happy so that he can keep the house happy, the house stable, okay, so that, you know, he's in the right mind frame to lead, okay. That's a woman's job, is to help the man be a pillar of rest. Let's grab that real quick, because that's what a woman was put here to be. That's literally your job. Let's read it. Let's start at 22. This is Sirach, otherwise known as Ecclesiasticus, otherwise known as Sirach. Chapter 36, starting at 22, it says, the beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better. You know, it's important for a woman to be beautiful. Okay, and you know, a lot of the beauty comes from within. You know, when a woman is positive, happy, brings you up, lifts you up, she's not moping around miserable, always depressed. That's not beauty. You know, I've seen women that, you know, are average, that their personality just makes them, it bumps them up a notch or two, man. It makes them a lot more beautiful than they actually are on the outside. I've seen that. Okay, trust me. But anyway, the beauty of a woman, right? Cheereth the countenance. So, men love that for a woman to, take care of themselves and, lift up a man's spirit. That's beautiful, right? And a man loveth nothing better. It says, if there be kindness, meekness, and comfort in her tongue, then is not her husband like other men. Then is not her husband like other men, right? Because that's what men are looking for, is women that kindness, meekness, and comfort in their tongue. Not bashing their man and bringing them down and all that. Men ain't looking for that. Verse 24, it says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, right? And this is something that a lot of women struggle with, even women that think they're in the truth. I ain't nobody's possession, right? I'm the prize, I'm not a possession. Like I heard what was it, Mulatto, that artist, that female artist, she said that in one of her lyrics. I'm the prize, I'm not a possession. I thought, yeah, right. You jacked up on, you've gone on feminism. But anyway, it says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession. So a wife is a man's possession, okay? It says, and a helpmeet like unto himself, or a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. So a woman is given to a man as a helpmeet. It says, and a pillar of rest. Okay, so you're supposed to bring relaxation to your man. Okay, and that can come in the form of giving him massages, feeding him, pleasuring him in the bedroom. There's all kinds of ways, but you're really put there to be his piece so that he can lead. Okay, so that he's in the right mind frame to lead. Okay, because every time a woman, gives it to the man good in the bedroom, hey, trust me, he's going to have a good day that day. More than likely, unless some unfortunate event happens, but you're going to put him in a good mood and he's going to go to work in a lot better spirit, let's just say. Right? It says, where there is no hedge, okay, which is the hedge of protection is the husband. So if a woman don't have a man, right, it says where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled. So women are through when they think they don't need a man, okay? They get into all types of mischief that runs up their mileage. Then they end up coming with more baggage and more problems, more mental issues. They become more feminist and proud and loud with their hot girl summers. You just become worthless. Okay. It says, and he that have no wife will wander up and down mourning, because it's very important for a man to have a wife too. That's why the Lord said, it's not good that man be alone, and that the Lord will make him a helpmeet. That's why the woman was created. The woman was created for the man, not the man for the woman. And this is what women don't understand. Men are the prize. And that's the point of this lesson. All right, I'm gonna close it there, man, Lord willing. Actually, you know what? One more scripture I forgot to bring out. In the book of Sirach. Let's grab it. Chapter 3 and verse 9. Okay. Because like that woman said, right? She believes that in healthy husband, a healthy home. And this scripture came to mind when she said that. Sirach 3 and 9, it says, for the blessing of the father establisheth the houses of children. See? So how can a man take care of the household if he's not taken care of by the wife? The wife lifts up the man so that he can take care of the household. The blessing of the father establisheth the houses of children. So a man that's in a right frame of mind, he's the backbone of the household of the children. It says, but the curse of the mother, right, a woman that's out of order, rooteth out foundations. She'll destroy her own household, man. Through being a whore or through being a damn headache, and then the man doesn't want to be with her anymore because, you know, we choose peace over anything. We'll pay child support. We just want peace. That's why a lot of you women are single mothers, man, because a lot of you don't know how to keep a man. But ultimately, it's the curses. I'm not saying that's the only reason that, you know, you women are single, but that's a big part of why a lot of women are single, because they run the man out the house, man. The men just don't want to deal with it. They'd rather just pay child support. Okay, there's a lot less stress that way. So, for the blessing of the father establisheth the house of the children. It says, but the curse of the mother root out the foundations. And that's all I wanted to bring out. We don't need to bring out verse 10. Okay. But, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Lord willing, you've been edified by this lesson, all right? Coming into the time where you women are going to need a man, you better recognize it and you better get right while you can. Not when it's too late. All right. So on that note, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachak, Shalom.